They're forests that breathe with an ancient, unsettling life of their own. A vast, unchartered wild where every rustle of the leaves and snap of a twig echoes with something not quite natural. In the shadowy abyss where the sun struggles to penetrate, it's entirely possible to lose not only one's sense of direction, but also one's sense of self. You might stumble upon an abandoned cabin, seemingly forgotten by time, only to feel the weight of unseen eyes watching your every move. Figures cloaked in dark robes, rituals that defy explanation, all part of a macabre dance that leaves you questioning what really lurks deep within the woods when the sun goes down. These are the forests where fear takes root, and once you enter, you may never truly leave. We'll see you on the inside. Oh, hey, I didn't see you. Welcome back to Sleep with the Lights On. My name is Scott, and I'm joined, as always, by Christian, the world's wettest blanket, and also my father-in-law. Isn't that nice? Isn't that wholesome? You like that? If you're new to the show, we ask one thing of you. Check it out in its entirety. If you're a fan, subscribe. Wow, that sounds like the script for our other podcast, The Freaky Deaky, that comes out every Thursday. You can get that wherever you get your spooky ghost podcasts. In the meantime, we release these every other Friday right here on our YouTube channel, along with other bonus stories and different shows we got in the works. So if you're a fan of this type of weird genre with a little dose of dry humor and a good time, then you're in the right spot, friend. Also, I should mention that you may notice, Scott, if you can get a close-up on that bad boy. Yeah, that's right, SauceSquatch. We got it. You thought it was just a joke Marlene cracked a while ago, but here we are. We made it into a product. We're not going to sell it. It's not for sale right now. We are actually looking into using it for giveaways and stuff like that on social media. So if you want a shot at winning a very strange bottle of hot sauce that is actually the best hot sauce I've ever tasted in my entire life, called SauceSquatch, you're in for a treat. You're going to want to follow us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod. Not sure when we're going to be running those giveaways, but if you follow us, you'll find out when we do.
Do we accept bribery for a bottle?
We do. Christian is looking for a first date. Ladies. So anyway, there's that. I guess we should probably get into the good stuff that people are here for. We're talking spooky forest stories today. So if you're a fan of that shit, you're probably going to want to just keep watching. And if I'm a fan of keeping people watching, I'm going to get into this story. So that's what I'm going to do right this very second. It's called The Abandoned Cabin, and it's by Framunda's Foreman.
Let's not even discuss that name.
It's an Australian reference, but it's also... Yeah, we're not going to touch on it. It's cool. It's fine. It says, when I was a young teen, our church sent us on a long road trip to a youth camp up deep into the Colorado mountains.
That's not a Colorado accent.
If anything, it was almost Australian. And it was like a really weird Australian. Sorry about that. To our Australian listeners, you guys are the best. Yeah, the best. Don't even know. What was that? Nacho Libre? Anyway.
I thought it was like Mario or Luigi.
It's a me. You guys are the best. Yeah, well, that's fake Olive Garden Italian. How's that? Anyway, it was a cool camp, and I was having a good time with all the outdoor activities and such. I had been assigned to a cabin with about a dozen other boys my age, and a camp counselor who was a really awesome guy. One day, we went on a full-day hike further into the mountains and got to a point before turning back where people could do whatever they wanted for an hour or so. Our counselor had told me and 3 other guys that the previous week he had gone exploring with another counselor and found what appeared to be an abandoned cabin not too far from where we currently were. We hadn't had a chance to check it out, so asked if we'd like to go while everyone else just dicked around. I don't remember how far it actually was, but I remember as soon as we came into a clearing and saw the cabin, all the noises of the forest stopped and it became eerily silent.
Predators.
What does that sound like? Hold on. I also couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched from the trees. The cabin looked normal enough, and as we got closer, the counselor peered into the windows. He informed us that it looked mostly empty inside and that he was going to check the door. While he went to the front door, he found it already cracked open, so he walked in. Okay, weird choice. We followed closely behind and entered into an empty front room comprising half of the cabin. Again, I felt like eyes were glaring at us from the woods, but could now sense a straight hatred coming from whatever it was. I began thinking I needed to get out, but the worst was yet to come. As when we entered the bedroom, in the middle of the floor was a giant pentagram. What? Back-to-back Sleep with the Lights On pentagram on the floor episodes. Get the fuck out of here. No way. It's fine. Let's continue. And sitting in the middle of the pentagram was a single wooden chair with a toilet seat on top that had nails driven through to cover the entire seat. Weird flex on that ritual, but cool. We all started to freak the fuck out and are ready to jet, but the counselor wanted to check the last room. He looked in and saw a pot of water boiling on a gas stove. His face turned white as a sheet and immediately yelled for us to get the fuck out and run. We took off out the front door and hauled ass the entire way back to the rendezvous location. The counselor asked us to keep it on the down low, and we didn't talk about it until we were back at our own cabin. I asked the other guys, and they said they had also felt the same creepy feeling of someone watching them. One of the guys said he could hear piercing buzzing in his ears as we ran away. That was the last we ever talked about it. Although I'm now in my 30s and have since gone on several long backpacking treks to the mountains, I have never encountered anything like that again. Wow, what's with all these people drawing pentagrams on the floor, damn it?
In all my years of visiting abandoned and spooky places, I have never come across a pentagram on the floor.
Really?
And I was supposedly at a former home of Charles Manson.
I mean, look, I've only really...
Not that he was a devil worshiper, but...
I've really only gone into like one abandoned location, and it was when the cops were also chasing me, but...
What the...
Yeah, I know. It's a long-ish story, I guess.
I wish you would have told me this stuff before you married my daughter.
Oopsie. Well, the thing is, I was a photographer for a band, right? And they wanted to do a shoot in a haunted, or I should say abandoned hotel that had rumors of being haunted as well. Private property. Cops got called. Instead of running off the property, we decided to go further into the property. Geniuses. It was a hotel, so there was plenty of space to run. Even I saw pentagrams. That was the only place I've ever gone in that was like abandoned or anything like that. Even I saw pentagrams.
I mean, I've seen them on
one
walls.
Place in California City.
I've seen them on walls.
Sure.
How did you have a hotel in California City?
Well, the origin stories was supposed to be a nice retirement spot, so they're building a luxury hotel. Turns out they didn't have the money for that, so it never got finished.
It sounds similar to how they built Lake LA, Lake Los Angeles, for those of you guys outside of California.
It's very
supposed to be a nice place. They put a lake in there, and nobody wanted to move out to that godforsaken part of the desert.
Yeah, and we will get back to the ghost stories and whatnot at some point, but for now, we're just going to talk about California for some time. Does that sound cool? You like that?
We're not talking about California. We just were there. But either way, I mean...
Boiling water, that is, when I first read that, I'm like, that's not, but I'm like, oh, that means someone is there right now. Or in the trees where he's glaring at you for being in his home. Who knows?
I feel like when they first go there and they feel like they're being watched, I mean, legitimately, they probably are being watched. There was this, when I used to go hunting as a kid with my dad, he would talk to me about stuff, and he would mention something about the animals watching us. And he always had a saying, you can't see them, but you can bet they can see you because they're watching you. We're the predators.
Yeah.
So I can understand the feeling of being watched, probably animals or SauceSquatch.
You think Sasquatch is drawing pentagrams on a cabin floor?
No, but he might be like trying to figure out what the hell these humans are doing out there.
Yeah, the dead silence thing is definitely...
That's just when you walk into a clearing. Generally, there's dead silence for a little bit until the creatures in the area get the lowdown on you, and then they might feel comfortable. But
wow, you are not.
If it's a spooky place, it's going to feel even more dramatic.
Ooh,
I don't understand how an abandoned cabin had a gas stove. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, but you can have, because we even have like a camping stove.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's what, like a little Coleman thing.
Okay, that makes so you just found somebody living, some homeless guy or
some squatter that likes to worship Satan in his downtime. Hey, these things happen, you know. We're not here to judge people or their life choices, even though we know damn well that's a poor move, friend.
But also, not everybody that draws or paints pentagrams.
Can you give me one other example of why someone would paint a giant pentagram on the floor of a bedroom? Just one other example.
No, when you see pentagrams painted places, it doesn't always mean that somebody's having some satanic ritual. It just might mean they like Ozzy Osbourne.
We like 5-point stars, my
or
friend.
Motley Crue or some heavy metal band from the past that used to do stuff.
And you think they like them enough to just draw a big one on the floor for no reason? I
Yeah.
like Manchester Orchestra. What am I going to go around drawing the 3-line block, the 3-line block everywhere I go? I don't need to. It's already on my arm. It's
yeah.
fine. Okay. What do you guys think, huh? The devil camping out? Has the economy hit the devil this bad as well? Find out more at 11.
You figure this youth camp would have, if it was the devil, they would maybe make sure they weren't taking all these children.
They weren't singing praises to the Lord 30 yards south, you know?
When I went to church camp, I never went to some abandoned cabin with a pentagram on it.
I was a counselor for some church camp back in California, like the last time I went to a camp. Dope ass location in the woods, right? And just up this little hill, there's an abandoned chapel that had a perfectly good grand piano in there. And oh my God, let me tell you, I was in that every single day, just slamming on them keys. I was tickling those ivories, you know?
How can you slam and tickle? If
there are ways, Christian. Your man is an enigma. Anyway, before we get even weirder with all this, I'm going to go ahead and get into this next story, and it's called The Galloping. While Christian gets into his phone. I hope you guys at home are paying attention. Damn.
I'm paying
attention. I got to do. And it's by the Juggler, or Jugglar. It says, years ago, I was at a friend's 16th B-Day with about 20 other people. They owned a huge property with something like 10 acres of woodland behind it. This is in Australia. Good eye, mate. Anyway, and in the middle of the night, we decided it would be fun to play murder in the dark in the woods. Me and my mate grabbed a ladder thinking we would climb a tree and pull it up behind us and no one would ever find us. So we're stomping through the bush lugging this ladder with us while we can hear the person who was it counting to 100. All of a sudden, everything goes quiet around us. Insects stop, no wind, even the counting sounded muted. And we started hearing this rhythmic thumping sound, something like a galloping horse coming from somewhere in front of us. As we were sitting there puzzled at the sound, it starts to get louder and closer, and we both swear we started to see a light coming through the trees in front of us. At that point, we ditched the ladder and bolted back the way we came. When we got out of the woods, we told everyone what we saw and heard, and my mate's dad told us to go get his ladder back. No supper for you, son. Anyway, so off we went, all 20 of us into the woods with torches retracing our steps. We found the ladder. It was perfectly set up, just sitting in a small clearing and soaking wet. To this day, we still can't explain it and haven't tried to go out into the woods at night again. Weird.
I feel like I missed a part of that story. Like, what are they trying to explain? Lights?
The pretty much the entire thing, right? You have people that hear the person counting. They're carrying this ladder, about to get it set up. Everything goes dead quiet. No insects, no wind. The counting itself even goes muted, and they hear this galloping sound coming towards them from whatever direction they're facing. And so they said as it continued, it got louder as if it was closer and closer. And so they dropped the ladder and ran because they saw, right at the end there, they saw a light coming through the trees or whatever in front of them.
Sounds to me like we have another example on the podcast of ghost horses.
Finally, we did it. We've been searching for so long.
I mean, we've had them appear many times as part of an apparition.
Very true.
Maybe this time, this person just heard them running through the bush.
As you do sometimes, turns out.
Who knows what these ghosts, whatever. I mean, I guess they could be something other than ghosts, but if indeed it was galloping and there's no animals around that would make that noise.
Sleepy Hollow.
Ooh, one of the, and we've talked about how terrified that scared me as a child.
We have, yeah. Turns out you were kind of a baby.
I was.
That's fine. I'm still kind of a baby.
I didn't go on roller coasters then either, or watch scary movies. I didn't watch scary movies till I was a teenager.
Creepy. Nonetheless, what do you guys think out there, huh? You think we're just doing this for us? Because we're not. We want your opinions on things. You guys are combined way smarter than Christian and I are. And we like to hear your thoughts. I like to hear every once in a while, hey, Scott, I'm with you. You're doing great out there, buddy. And Christian likes to hear that people enjoy him, too.
I do.
Yeah, it's the Leo in him.
Totally.
He really loves the ego stroking. Ladies? Anyway, let's get into these ads, huh? Hey, YouTube, play an ad. It's not going to play an ad. YouTube, you son of a... Yeah, so anywho, as I was saying, YouTube didn't play an ad. But the cut sure was there, wasn't it?
It was.
It was indeed. Folks, let's get into this third story. I'm not here to keep you forever. And your boy doesn't like editing super long videos. And we do not have a production team, even though people keep reaching out to us and saying, hey, would you like me to be your video editor? And I have to keep saying, hey, we don't have a budget.
Yet.
Okay? There's a $0 budget. Do you understand that? That
it's actually...
Chris and I live very chaotic lives. We have a $0 budget. We do all this for the sake of the game. All right? For the game. We do it for the game, for the thrills. At some point, we'll have a budget. And then I'll hire an editor. And it's going to be great. But until then, thanks, I guess. And also, if you're a college student that is going to school for video editing and you want credits, reach out to us. We definitely can't do that, but we can lie to you. Does that sound fun? You want to be an intern for fun and games?
And experience.
And experience, of course. And hot sauce, you get a free bottle of SauceSquatch.
Goes great with baked beans.
It does go great with baked beans. Christian, actually, why don't you hold up that bottle to your camera? You're closer. Your camera's more of a wide angle. You can get a little closer, too, if you want to really show off that sweet, sweet SauceSquatch. That's just one of two labels. We have one that is more naturally colored, and then we have one that is the TFT branded, like hot pinks and purples and whatnot. You know how we do around these parts. Now you got that out of the way. Me? Let's get into this third story. It's called Ritual of the Dolls. Not what you want. That's not a great way to start. Sorry.
It's the sequel to Valley of the Dolls?
Yes. And Island. Anyway, it's by Fresh Letter 6306. Frequent early morning dog walker in forests in the southeast of England. That's what this person is. Now we got that visual out of the way. About 10 years ago, while doing a daily walk upon the top of a verge, looking down to a steep slope, was a rope swing that kids use in the summer, usually stoners and whatnot in the evenings, very routine types. This morning, however, there was a person with around 5 or 6 baby dolls all in a circle round the swing, while a doll was in the swing being pushed by the person wearing some sort of horned yellow, black, and red mask while chanting in another language. At this point, it was noticed they were also wearing a sort of heavy hooded robe. Safe to say, me and my dog skirted around and kind of left them to it. 2 hours later, loading up the car, which backs onto the forest, a group of 7 people carrying lit torches in the same getup marched out of the woods across the car park in total silence and back out the opposite side. The feeling I got when they emerged was nothing short of pure terror. Even the dog was cowering in the car. It's the weirdest situation of my life to date. Wow. I mean, I know people do rituals out there and it can get kind of weird. However, that could also be a hilarious prank where someone's like, I used to do that. I used to do really weird shit in the park when I was like a kid with like my best friends and stuff. We'd set up these it was wild. I'm not going to get into it right now, but pretty much just like what people do on TikTok and shit for clicks now, where you're just messing with people and like doing pranks and whatnot. That is something that I would probably do. Just get 7 dolls, wear a really weird mask and a robe and like start chanting in a different made up language. But at the same time, if it's real and it's really a person out there doing this, and then you see 7 folks in robes with lit torches, no. Nothing. We've had a lot of weird ritual stories on this show. Do you realize that?
I do.
You remember the Mount Shasta one with the woman in the chair? And then last week we had like that one. This week we had the pentagram, which you think is irrelevant. And then this one, whoever's picking these stories sure is going for a lot of rituals subconsciously. Christian?
It wasn't me.
Okay. So what do you think about all that? Let's get your thought. This is a strength for me. I'm like, this is kind of par for the course, but very odd. You are going to be like, what the actual? I
would actually, if I saw any of this, I would be thoroughly entertained.
Would you start recording it? Or would you just like, would you keep to the distance and be like, I don't think I need to go over there?
I would probably try to see what's going on because that would be fascinating. And if you have somebody sitting, pushing a swing with a doll on it, surrounded by other dolls speaking in a different language that you don't understand, which could be anything, including just a language we find on this plane of existence.
Of course, your first reaction is going to be, I'm going to go see what that person's up to.
I don't want to.
Hey there, friend.
Interrupt
you look
their
rational.
Ritual. What if their ritual is really important to them? but it doesn't affect anything else in this world, positively or negatively. Who am I to judge that person's ritual, even though it's
you're
kind
the
of
same
kooky?
person to judge literally everything else we talk about on this podcast, Christian.
No.
You do it religiously at this point.
Most of the time I judge the judgment. I don't know if that makes sense. Either way, moving on. I'm okay with this. I think it's kind of funny. I would not be terrified if I saw people walking into the forest with torches, whether they were real torches
Or if they're all robed and silent, not saying a word. What do you think they're like, LARPing? You think they're LARPing, Christian?
maybe they're cosplaying some anime show I don't know of.
Maybe they're cosplaying the Seven Dwarves. Yeah. You know what? I just don't. I think they're at some point you gotta just when you see something, be like, that's not normal, though, is it? You know?
I mean, normal's kind of boring.
Christian, you don't have to say that to me. We're hosting a spooky ghost show. All right. I understand that we're not doing the weather and sports. All right. We're doing spooky, weird shit. We're having a great time. I don't know. Whatever. What you guys, would you shit yourself if you come across this scene? Is there something where you're like, ooh, do you know what he was doing? Even more importantly, do you know what this dude was doing with $7 or whatever and then pushing one on a rope swing?
What kind of dolls were they? That's what the first thing
picturing. What are you picturing?
Little
porcelain ones?
Like just the dolls we talk about, the haunted dolls.
Yeah, the classics.
The dolls you can buy at a store. I mean, I don't know what I'm picturing. That's why I'm asking. I want to know. Okay. Is this a spooky type doll? Is it just some weirdo?
I think that's established right off the bat. I think it is definitely some weirdo.
Is it somebody? Is my mind playing tricks on me?
Classic, and we're back to it. I just saw a comment on YouTube about that, I think. And now we're back to it. I saw it a couple hours ago, and now we're back to it. It is a circle. It's a circle. Anyway, that concludes, man. What was your favorite episode of this show that's been going on for a year now? Exactly. Yeah. What was your favorite story? 137? We're on like episode 27 right now of Sleep with the Lights On.
Oh, 9.
Should have said 7. That was the Mirrors episode. That was a fun one.
9's my favorite number.
9 is the law. It's fine.
I want to hear what your favorite story was. You always ask me.
I like anything that has creepy rituals to it. You know, when you stumble upon that, something that's like completely out there and you're like, I shouldn't be seeing this right now. What the fuck? Am I in a movie theater? You know, I don't want to be the guy that stumbles upon something like that, but also at the same time kind of do, just so I can be like, I saw it with my own eyes. I know they're doing something out there.
Do you think if we did a strange ritual, the dark forces would make us really popular?
I think you could, but at the same time, there's no such thing as white magic or anything like that. So we'd be affecting someone in some way if we were to perform something, which is why it's inherently frowned upon. At least with me. Though? I don't care about what you guys think, honestly. I mean, I care about certain things, but this, pretty set in stone, you know? And this is always set in stone.
Magic is magic.
It's magic. Anyway, guys, we're done. What was your favorite story? Comment below. Are you a fan of a nice side salad when you go to the Olive Garden?
I feel like this is the second time you mentioned Olive Garden. Did you
I'm
eat
a little
dinner?
Hungry. I did have pizza. Pizza's Italian. Italian is kind of Olive Garden. And when you're there, you're family. So we brought it. It's cool. Anyway, guys, remember to sleep with the lights on because you never know what is lurking in those shadows.
It's a demon.
It is a demon.
Always a demon. Be scared.